What makes a good sneaker collaboration? In my opinion, it's two brands coming together to create a new pair of sneakers that reflects both of the brands. The design is different, the materials are different, then the storytelling behind it makes sense. Good examples of some great collaborations is like the Off-White and Jordan. Off-White used existing Jordan models and created completely different, reworked designs. Extra panels, different materials, stripped down construction. Ma Maniere and Jordan brand, another great example. Great storytelling behind all of the collaborations that they've done, and with the Jordan 3s, they elevated it into a completely new premium feel. Sacai and Nike created a brand new sneaker model that didn't exist before. But we're not talking about great collaborations today, we're talking about the complete opposite. The absolute worst, laziest collaborations that I could possibly find. I went out and bought a ton of different pairs, and some of these are pretty shocking. Going from bad to the absolute worst, let's kick this off with the Elix Nike Air Force 1. This sneaker dropped pretty recently in December 2023, and there was two different colorways available, this all over white one and an all over black one. They retailed at $155, which is a $40 premium over a regular pair of Air Force 1s. Now in all honesty, these things would have made it higher up on the list, but at least they did change some things about it so you can differentiate between these two shoes. So first off, they added better leather, so it feels a lot better than a regular pair of Air Forces. They also added some Elix metal branding, which is just this tiny little piece of metal up by the eyelet. You've got a little bit of branding in silver around towards the back of the heel. The box and packaging is better, and they actually removed an entire panel from this pair of sneakers, which I think is the biggest change to this pair of shoes. Now look, I'm not saying that this is a bad sneaker. I mean, it is an Air Force 1, so it's one of the most iconic and most popular sneakers on the planet. But I am saying it's a bad collaboration. It's nothing different, it's nothing groundbreaking, it's nothing we haven't seen before. It really does seem like the equivalent of a famous person printing their logo on a Gildan t-shirt and selling it as merch. It's a cheap way that Nike can use marketing hype and scarcity to sell a product rather than creating a whole new sneaker. But it gets way worse, because next up we have Drake's Air Force 1.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
That's right, we got another Air Force 1, which does really just seem like a branding opportunity rather than an actually great product. So these dropped in 2022 for a retail price of $160. So now we're pushing it up to a whole $45 price premium over a regular Air Force 1. So are these worth the extra money? Well, again, this pair, like the Elix Air Force 1, isn't the worst because there are a few changes with this sneaker. You also get some little added extras like an extra pair of laces and these tiny little beads that are actually the entire alphabet, so you can add those to the laces and somewhat customize it. We've also got better leather quality, very similar to the Elix Air Force 1. This one kind of elevates it slightly because you also have a leather sock liner. Now the only real branding is on the midsole, where instead of the Air text, it now says "Love You Forever." And then you got the Nocta branding on the heel, but that's pretty tiny. So yeah, when you're wearing these things, they look exactly like a regular pair of Air Force 1s. They're gonna feel exactly the same. And overall, it does seem like a lazy collaboration, and again, a branding opportunity to be able to sell the shoe rather than a compelling shoe that sells itself. But what I will say about both the Drake Air Forces and the Elix Air Forces is that if you were looking for a premium option when it comes to the Air Force 1, something with the same exact style but it has more premium materials, these are not necessarily bad options. They're not that overpriced. But that argument does not hold up for the next one, which is the JJJJound and Crocs collaboration. So these dropped in September of 2023 for $75, while a regular pair of Crocs cost $50. Now maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, it's a pair of Crocs, like how crazy could they have actually gone when they are collaborating with it? It's just a one piece of foam shoe. Well, they could have changed a lot actually. If you look at other Crocs collaborations, they're pretty damn good. One of the most popular ones, the Soleil Bembury, changes the style of the shoe completely. And then you've got all of the wildly creative other collaborations like the Lightning McQueens, the Maters, the Big Yellow Boots, but these are definitely not one of them. In fact, there's literally two changes that they made with this pair of shoes over a regular pair of Crocs. So of course, it starts with branding. You now have, instead of Crocs, a JJJJound logo. And then they swapped out the plastic button for a gold one, which obviously is not real gold, it is just plated. But everything else is exactly the same as a regular pair of Crocs. You're getting the exact same same material, which is just the one piece of foam, and that's it. That's literally it. Now, what's even crazier is that these things actually sold out, and they're even reselling for upwards of $100 online. So it seems like there's still a market for collaborations that put branding over creativity, which is exactly what the next one is. This is the Supreme Air Force One. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of Air Force Ones, but honestly, I could have chosen more. I picked out the worst Air Force Ones that I could find, but arguably I could have added the Tiffany Air Force One or the Cause collaboration that retailed for $350 and is now reselling for like $1,000. Point being, the Supreme Forces had to be on this list. This is probably one of the easiest money-making methods for Nike and Supreme, because these things dropped all the way back in 2020, and since their original release and now they have restocked very, very frequently and sell out every single time. And this pair of shoes is almost as close to a regular Air Force One as you can possibly get. It's got the exact same terrible leather quality that you find on a regular $115 pair of Air Force Ones. It feels plasticky, it feels cheap, and it also is going to crease pretty terribly pretty quickly. But at least they didn't charge a huge price premium for these things. They're actually only a couple bucks over a regular pair of Air Force Ones. And you also do get an extra pair of Supreme laces, which are obviously the red Supreme box logo, which I imagine is something that most people utilize so that at least we know that they are in fact Supreme Air Forces. Because the only other indicator is the box logo that's on the back. That's it. That is the only change. And I think these keep on selling out because it's kind of what Supreme fans or people who like Supreme are kind of used to. I mean, Supreme has always been a brand really showcasing the power of a logo. They managed to put their logo on a brick and sell that out, which is actually ridiculously priced to this day. So collaborations like this are not really surprising. What is surprising though is how the next one is actually real. This is the Fear of God Adidas Adilet slide. Yes, this is a thing, and these dropped, I think, as one of the more recent releases in December 2023 for, get this, $100. That makes these a price premium of $85 over the original $15 ones. That's right, after 3 long years waiting for the Adidas and Fear of God collaboration, this is what they gave us, a near identical pair of Adilet slides. Fear of God slide literally has one difference over the regular Adidas one, and that is the strap. It's now made of leather as opposed to the regular rubber one that you find on the Adilet. I guess you would have 2 changes if you wanted to count the Fear of God branding that's printed on the sole of these things, where on the regular one it says Adidas, but I mean, yeah, whatever. Now, I also thought buying these things that they were going to be extra special because they were made in Italy. I thought they were using some kind of Italian craftsmanship. However, it comes to find out that these things, the $15 ones, are also made in Italy, so that's not even another selling point. They're not even any more comfortable. They're made of the exact same sole material, so it's still that really firm Adilet $15 material. In fact, if you closed your eyes and put the Fear of Gods on one foot and the Adidases on the other foot, and you would not be able to distinguish between them both. But somehow, this isn't the worst case of charging way more for a product that already exists. This next one is painful. This is the CDG Nike Terminator that retails for $235. That's right, a regular Nike Terminator costs like $125, and that's like the most you would ever pay because they're usually on sale. Funnily enough, this collaboration does kind of have a happy ending to it because most people that bought these things didn't actually pay that full retail. And that's because this collaboration kind of flopped. You can actually find the CDG Terminator on sale right now for about $60 to $80, and they're still not selling out. Now look, these are pretty much identical to a regular pair of Terminators. Even the material doesn't feel that much better. It is a slight premium. You've got a leather sock liner, but it's nothing that really makes you feel like $235 at all. And then on the left pair of shoes, you've got the CDG branding, but that's it. You got the little branding, lightly elevated materials. That is it. So I don't know how they came up with that original retail price of $235 thinking people would pay for it. But at the end of the day, at least people were able to catch a steal. If you picked these things up and you like a pair of Terminators, not a bad way to go. Oh, it gets worse because next up we have the Travis Scott Mac Attack. These were another December 2023 release. Now, Travis and Nike decided not to pull money out of your pockets because they do retail at $120, which is the exact same as the original Mac Attack. Yes, guys, these are are two different sneakers is what you're looking at. And even though they retail at the same, if you look at the resale market, well, that tells a completely different story. Because while the regular Mac Attack goes for under retail price, the Travis Scott's resell for, get this, $300 to $400. This sneaker might be one of the best examples of just plain marketing. Every single thing about these two shoes is identical. The boxes are identical, the colors are identical, the materials are identical. The only difference is, of course, the backward swoosh. And man, does that reverse swoosh hold some power. I mean, for Nike, this is an incredibly cheap way of making money. Just a slight alteration with the one Nike swoosh and then the little bit of stitching on the back, and now you can sell out an entire product line. And what's even crazier is that the Travis Scott collaborations get even worse than this one, because next up is the Travis Scott Air Force One. This sneaker comes in the exact same box with the exact same paper and have the exact same SKU code, meaning this is by far the biggest money grab on today's list. They literally took existing pairs of the Nike Air Force One and then printed this tiny little Utopia branding on the back of the heel. That is it. Same leather, same everything, because it is quite literally the exact same shoe. Now, because this is called and branded with the Utopia after Travis Scott's album, you could kind of look at this as merch. But even if you compare it to Travis Scott's merch, they didn't have to pay a designer or anything to come up with new t-shirts and jackets. They literally just took an existing logo, put it on the back of a regular Air Force One, and called it a day. Now, they will charge you extra for these because they do go for $150 instead of the regular Air Force Ones being $115. And if you look at the resale price, of course, it's way higher. You're looking at about $200 to $250. But that's not the end of the list, guys. We still have one more. And the final pair on today's list is actually the only one on today's list where the collaboration shoe is significantly worse than the original. This is the Billie Eilish Alpha Force 88. This one is absolutely wild. These retail at $130, which is the exact same amount that you would pay for a regular Alpha Force 88. However, what you're getting with the Billie Eilish version is a significantly inferior product. The original Alpha Force 88 feels heavier in hand, and it's also created with tumbled leather around the entire upper. It's softer, it creases better, and the Billie Eilish version is lighter. It feels cheaper, and the leather that they have on here is the same plasticky, terrible creasing leather that you find on Panda Dunks and the regular Air Force One. Now, not only that, but the sneakers themselves are literally identical. There's not really anything that differentiates between the two. When you look at them, you can hardly tell a difference. The colors are the same, the outsole, the midsole, the padding. There is one difference, however, and that is with the insole. One of them says Billie Eilish and the other one does not. So they decided to put the entire branding for this pair of shoes on the inside underneath your foot, which is actually just printed on the insole, so that's gonna disappear after a couple wears. The only thing I can say for the Billie Eilish version is that you do get a better unboxing experience, and they throw in a little dust bag for your trouble. But hey, I would love to know what other laziest sneaker collaborations you guys can think of. Drop it down in the comment section, and hey, maybe we'll do a follow-up. And if you wanted to find out if sneaker cleaners are a scam, well, why don't you check out that video over there?